Welcome back to New Record Day. My name is Ron, and today, folks, we got something special for you. I am going to be doing a review of what has become one of my favorite Phono preamplifiers. This thing is reference class, and it's all yours for just the low price of $4,500. I'm kidding. It's $300.
What? Huh? What?
It's $300. Check this thing out. Folks, this is the Lounge Mark III Phono preamplifier, and let me tell you something right now. If moving magnets or high output moving coils is the game that you want to get into, look no further. Let's check this thing out. Back in 2012, I read a review by Tone Audio magazine that celebrated an earlier version of the Lounge. The truth is, that review was enough to make me wonder just how good this little preamp could be. And with the improvements that Robert Morin has made with the Mark III design, that curiosity turned into an email and a review unit waiting patiently on my doorstep. Besides, for $300 and never hearing an LCR equalization network, I knew this was going to be interesting. For those new to the phonograph game, welcome aboard, and let me briefly explain some basics before we continue. During the record-making process, the high frequencies, or treble, is boosted and the bass is attenuated, or for lack of a better term, reduced. Essentially, the job of a phono preamp using whatever method of RIAA or equalization is to correct this and level things back out for the most accurate music reproduction possible. The Lounge Phono preamplifier is using an LCR or inductor capacitor resistor network to accomplish this. And while it's certainly not the most common method, I'm going to be the first to vouch that in the right hands this network sounds just plain fantastic. Jumping into specifics, the Lounge Mark III is a dual mono 100% analog phono preamplifier that uses high-speed op amps which allow a transformerless direct drive of the LCR network. Current sources are used to bias each amplifier stage into a Class A operation. Getting more specific about the op amp being used, Rob is using the LT1358 op amp, as its through-hole package allows the preamp to be made with no surface mount parts. One set of dedicated inputs allows for the simplest path to the op-amp input, and there are no switches between your cartridge and the amp. Discrete series shunt power supply regulators are used with one dedicated to each amplifier IC power supply pin. Also, for ease of current delivery, the pass element of the series regulator is vastly overrated in current capacity. No power supply ground shares an audio ground, and no grounds share channels. All capacitors and inductors are hand matched. Let me say that again for those that weren't listening. Each and every single inductor is matched by Rob to avoid inconsistent variables that can get in the way of your music. Gain for the Lounge comes in at a moderate 40 decibels, which is a number that I like to see when we start talking about moving magnet phonos. All too often I'm seeing manufacturers creeping up into the high 40s, which in my experience is overkill and limits your choices when picking the right cartridge for the job at hand. Having used both my 2M Red and my Sumiko No. 2, I can tell you with great confidence that any high output moving coil or moving magnet in the millivolt ranges between, let's say 2 and 6, will match just fine with this preamp. Input capacitance is set to 100 picofarads, which again in my listening sessions proved to work just fine with all the carts in-house. Rounding things off nicely, Rob uses high quality, low noise Dell resistors in the critical path positions and film capacitors in the audio path. For cartridge loading, he's using polystyrene foil and mic capacitors along with bulk foil resistors. Oh, and yes, this is handcrafted in the USA. Rob is not sipping some Mai Tai in the Bahamas while these things are being stamped out in some factory from who knows where. Since Tone Audio already did the hard work for me when comparing the Lounge to the usual suspects of phono preamps in the $200 to $500 range, and to quote them was miles ahead in every way, I thought, okay, let's see how this phono preamp does when it picks a fight with a serious contender. How about a $3,800 Pass Labs XP15? That should do the trick. Tossing on my go-to record starting with Eric Clapton's Unplugged, I sat back and relaxed and listened to the entire record, and when I was done, I started the record over again. Because what I heard in front of me was far more than just a phono preamp doing something right. I heard music that inspired a connection. Top-end extension was clear as a bell and liquid. Acoustic guitars had body and snap, and percussion on the recording came to the show with dynamics that most integrated or cheap phono preamps couldn't possibly pretend to get right, even on a good day. Soundstage was not only wide and deep, but it was inviting and three-dimensional, and nothing I heard was in my face or sounded like a front row wall of noise. Make no mistake here, folks. Regardless of the price of admission, this little lounge was picking a serious fight, and when it throws punches, you better take it seriously. I recently borrowed Metallica's Black Album cut by Chris Bellman from a friend, which I knew that if we were going to see a glaring weakness in the lounge, this album was going to get us there very fast. Listening to the opening track, Enter Sandman, and hearing that timeless bomb-dropping intro, I knew right then and there we had a problem. A big problem. The lounge was a better match with the 2M Red than my very own Pass XP15. Now, before I lose all credibility as a reviewer, let me explain myself. I didn't say that the lounge is better than the Pass. I said it wasn't as good as a match with this cartridge. With the lounge, the good and the bad that you get with the 2M is delivered with a sense of forgiveness that the Pass XP15 simply doesn't do. With the XP15, the top end of the guitars and drums can sound edgy and even shrill at times. So folks, class is in session, and I'm about to tell you something that you're not going to find in most puff piece reviews. If moving magnet carts are where you want to stay, and you want to save a lot of money, well, I just saved you somewhere in the ballpark of $3,000. You can thank me later by sending me a donation. Comparisons made with the lounge were the built-in phono section of a circa 1990s Onkyo TVSV 454 and an older thrift store find Pioneer SA 420. In both cases, the lounge edged out in the lead in all areas, especially in the top-end extension. Throwing into the mix the upcoming VPI Nomad's built-in phono section, the lounge continued to impress when comparing detail, resolution, and a much more accurate representation of top-end extension. I'll be posting some high-resolution files for you to check out on the review page very soon. This will give you an idea of what to expect and what I was hearing, and you can judge for yourself. Mid-range on the lounge reminded me of the previously reviewed Lehman Black Cube statement, but if pressed to ask for a preference, I'd have to go with the lounge. While I don't have a direct comparison on hand, I think the lounge sounds slightly more detailed and focused, which tends to be what I'm looking for when I'm picking out gear. Vocals came through with perfect clarity and easily cut through the mix with total authority. Bass and dynamics were equally satisfying and had enough slam to convince me that anyone picking up the lounge would enjoy what it has to offer regardless of music selection. Listening to a number of records, I was impressed at just how real drums sounded, and the lowest kick drums included enough detail to keep me coming back for more. While the Pass XP15 certainly reaches lower, you would need to have speakers that are capable of digging into subwoofer territory to know what you might be missing out on. Soundstage was both wide and deep, and what stood out the most was laser line separation of each instrument. While I tend to think that this is attributed to the top-end extension of the lounge, it goes to show just how these qualities go hand in hand. All in all, folks, the lounge audio is one of those preamps that makes me wonder why is it not being discussed a lot more and being taken as a very serious contender to much more costly preamps. I cannot fathom any other phono under $500 beating the lounge by a large enough margin that it would make me even consider spending the extra money. Granted, for the audiophile that wants the flexibility of going moving coil, the deal is off the table. But for music lovers who want to stick with moving magnet and be done with it, look no further and get the lounge. You will surely thank me later. Well, folks, there you have it. The Lounge Mark III is a fantastic, a phenomenal sounding phono preamplifier, regardless of the ridiculously low asking price of $300. Robert Morin, thank you so much for sending out the Lounge. We definitely appreciate it. And unfortunately, I got some bad news. You can't have it back. I'm telling you right now, I am keeping this Lounge, so send me an invoice, do what you gotta do. I don't care. I love this thing, and I would be honored to keep this in-house or use it for other projects down the road. Thank you so much for stopping by. We definitely appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, shoot them my way. I'll be happy to respond. Peace. Take it easy. It's $300.
What?
It's $300.
Huh?
It's $300.
What?
It's $300.
What?
It's $300.
Huh?
It's $300.
What?
It's $300.
Wow.